He, him, she, her, they, them. When Chris Miller was a board member at an in-state university, he looked the other way as pro-transgender events happened on his watch. Drag shows, a transgender homecoming gala, and even, quote, a trans closet that provided items to support sex changes for students. Chris Miller protected they, them, not us. Black Bear PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
That is an actual political ad in America today, because this is what we are as a culture now. So in West Virginia, the GOP has a contentious primary. And despite all of the problems that West Virginia is obviously facing, this is the thing that their primary is gonna be decided on. Who hates trans people more? And they are willing to be super creative in talking about how much they hate trans people. So that video was paid for by a pro Patrick Morrisey political action group. And basically everybody involved in this primary is campaigning on this, both in terms of rhetoric, in terms of trying to cast the other candidates as being the most secretly supportive of trans people, and focusing on legislation they can pass to further suppress the trans community in their state. And we're gonna give you some examples of that, but I just also want to be clear of this. The LGBTQ plus community makes up about 4% of the population of West Virginia. 4%, which is very low in comparison to other states. In other states, there is way, way too much focus on these issues, like drag story brunches and drag athletes or whatever. It is perhaps nowhere more disproportionately focused on than in West Virginia. Again, I don't live in West Virginia. Maybe you live in West Virginia. Maybe you're watching this and you're from West Virginia. I bet you can come up with an issue that could really use the attention of your state politicians. But instead, they will be focusing on these things that have nothing to do with you or your family. The vast majority of you probably won't interact with a trans person for the next 6 months, but they will try to bamboozle you into supporting one or another radical right-wing candidate by trying to pitch the other as being secretly supportive of this community that they don't know anything about and don't care about. Viviana, what do you think?
I mean, we went through this with gay rights. I mean, this is kind of like, okay, it's a new topic because we've gone through it, and thank goodness we've got to the other side of that for the most part. And we have a lot of LGBTQ rights. Well, maybe not the T yet, but we're working on it. And it's something that these politicians have done. They find something that gets people uncomfortable, gets people, oh, who's gonna think about the children, And you hit the nail on the head. It's a very small issue that they're blowing out of proportion because it makes for good TV. Look at that ad. I was glued to it. Oh, what's going on? That's why drag shows are fun too, because there's kind of like costumes and makeup and fun. And I want to go to Hamburger Mary's after that, which they do like a drag show there here in West Hollywood. So, it's sad. It's sad because we have real issues in this country. We have real rights that are being infringed upon. And that's what we should be focusing on. Not the fact that you hate trans people and you're uncomfortable with them, but you're wanting to infringe upon the rights of Americans. And that is a bigger issue. And we should just be looking at Americans as, a monolith in the sense of human rights, and not be targeting, well, you don't get rights because you're not making good decisions as a woman, so you don't get to have an abortion, and you don't get to get access to birth control, and you can't wear a skirt if you want to, even though in the history of the world, this has been happening forever. I mean, Shakespeare wouldn't exist if we didn't have people in drag. I mean, that's what they did. So, it's very, very sad and it's very limited. It seems like people have a very limited scope. The way the media has evolved over the years, like you said, it can radicalize people because you can get tunnel vision and only look at what you want to see. And then the algorithm targets you and only shows you what you want to see. So it sort of validates these feelings that you're having and these thoughts that they're having. And then you have pundits out there saying the things that, you want to hear. And it's a really sad tale because there are young people particularly that I'm concerned about that are afraid for their life, and they're afraid for their future. And that's a real fear. And that's something that we should take a lot more seriously than a closet at a university that's giving somebody I don't know how that clothing affects your sex change operation, but clothing is clothing.
Yeah, I don't know what they're even claiming.
What sort
in
of
that.
shirt you put on that gives you new genitalia.
Viviana, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that ad probably not very honest.
No.
It's crazy, but also probably not very honest. Yeah, and I'm glad that you pointed out the pundits too. You could not get to the point where a Republican primary is run in this way without literally years now of every day these pundits drilling into right wingers that this is the biggest issue. And look, I've honestly racked my brain to try to come up with, because I don't have much more faith in a lot of what passes for like Democratic appealing media, like an issue that they've tried to convince us is important that has nothing to do with our life. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the comparison is. Like when I think about the issues I care about reproductive rights. I care about climate change. I care about people's weight. Like I don't know, but they have been so thoroughly bamboozled. And a lot of
maybe immigration,
if not for Fox News. But what I mean, immigration is a substantive issue. I guess I don't know. What I do know is that this is West Virginia is not the only place that this is having an effect. Alaska, their House this weekend passed a trans sports ban. There had been hours of filibustering by opponents, but they got past it and they passed a trans sports ban. Interestingly, there are no known trans athletes who will be affected by this in the state.
Yeah.
And yet, that's what Alaska focused on. Alaska has no other problems, clearly, so they can afford to dedicate all their time to banning athletes that have not been shown to exist. And Mississippi has signed a transgender bathroom ban in public schools because, again, Mississippi has many problems. Yeah. Tate Reeves has no interest in dealing with any of them. You gotta fill time somehow. So this is what they're going to do. By the way, last year, more than 80 anti-LGBTQ bills were signed into law nationwide, making it one of the worst years for LGBTQ rights, specifically in history, despite all of the supposed social progress that we've had over the years. So this is the knee-jerk reaction to that, or this is filling in for other time wasters the right always needs while they pursue their actual economic agenda. But either case, it sucks. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.